Welcome back, everyone, to another exciting deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins and hidden treasures that might be sitting unnoticed in your change jar or tucked away in an old drawer. Today, we are going to unravel the unbelievable story of a 1997 D5-cent piece that has stunned collectors and auction houses alike by being valued at an extraordinary $15 million because of a unique set of errors, mistakes, and anomalies that have transformed an ordinary nickel into one of the most valuable coins in American numismatic history. And as we go on this journey together, you'll discover just how a small coin that most people wouldn't look at twice can become a multi-million-dollar prize. So sit back and imagine what it would be like to stumble across such a fortune in your pocket change, and let's explore why this coin is worth such an incredible sum. The 1997 D nickel originates from the Denver Mint, which produced hundreds of millions of nickels that year, but in the case of this rarest example, something went dramatically wrong during production. A combination of multiple minting errors, planchet issues, striking anomalies, die misalignments, and possibly intentional experimental processes came together to create a perfect storm that elevated this particular coin to legendary status. One of the first reasons this coin has been valued so highly is because of its double die obverse, where the image of Thomas Jefferson on the front of the coin appears. Doubled in extraordinary clarity, the letters in the word Liberty are clearly doubled. The date 1997 shows strong overlapping impressions, and Jefferson's profile looks as if it has a ghostly shadow layered beside it. Doubling of this magnitude is rare enough, but on a modern coin like the 1997 D nickel it is nearly unheard of, adding a massive premium. But that's just the beginning of the story, because experts also noticed that the planchet on which this coin was struck was not the standard copper-nickel alloy normally used for nickels. Instead, metallurgical tests revealed traces of silver and even a faint layer of gold plating, suggesting that either an experimental planchet was accidentally fed into the presses or a mint worker deliberately tested unusual compositions, making this coin not only an error but also potentially a prototype. And when you have a coin that shows both die doubling and planchet anomalies, the value skyrockets. Further analysis revealed yet another layer of mistakes. The mint mark D, indicating Denver, was punched in a misaligned fashion, partly sunken into Jefferson's collar, something completely out of place and instantly noticeable under magnification. Such an error makes the coin unique because no other surviving specimen has the same combination of flaws. In fact, collectors often talk about how error coins become more valuable the more complex and layered the mistakes are. And in this case, we are talking about a coin that checks off multiple categories of errors at once, including double die, off-metal strike, misaligned mint mark, and die cracks that run dramatically across the reverse side. On the back of the coin, which features Monticello, Jefferson's famous home, a series of die cracks look like lightning bolts running from the roof down to the columns. And even more fascinating is the fact that parts of the building are missing detail, as if the dies failed to fully strike, leaving large blank areas. These missing elements add further rarity since partial strikes are cherished by collectors, especially when combined with other dramatic errors. Another layer of intrigue surrounding this 1997 D nickel is the possibility that it was struck multiple times, creating a triple strike pattern in which Jefferson's bust and Monticello appear shifted and overlapped in ghostly forms. Multiple striking errors of this magnitude are extremely rare and usually destroyed before they ever leave the mint, but somehow this one coin slipped through quality control and found its way into circulation, only to be discovered years later by a lucky collector who immediately recognized its unusual features. When this coin was authenticated by professional grading services, experts unanimously agreed that it was not only genuine, but also one of a kind, with no known duplicates anywhere. And in the world of numismatics, rarity equals value. Add in the breathtaking visual appeal of the errors themselves, and you have a recipe for a coin that commands astronomical prices. During its first appearance at auction, bidders from around the world competed aggressively, pushing the price higher and higher until it finally sold for $15 million, a sum that stunned even seasoned collectors. This record-breaking sale cemented the 1997 D-era nickel as one of the most valuable modern American coins ever sold. And it continues to capture imaginations because it represents the dream of finding unimaginable wealth in something so ordinary. The possibilities of what errors can exist in coins like this are endless, ranging from off-center strikes where the entire design is shifted to blank planchets that miss being struck entirely to coins struck on the wrong denomination, such as a nickel design on a penny or dime blank. And collectors know that every year brings new discoveries of strange minting mishaps. But what makes the 1997 D nickel so unique is that it combines so many possibilities in a single coin. The double die alone would have made it rare. The off-metal composition would have made it historic. The misalignment mark would have made it fascinating. But when all of these come together on one coin, it becomes legendary. That is why experts compare this coin to famous rarities, like the 1913 Liberty Head nickel or the 1943 copper penny, which both sell for millions. Except in this case, the 1997 D nickel is a modern marvel, showing that even recent issues can rival the great rarities of the past. Collectors dream of finding such treasures because it proves that not all valuable coins are ancient or from the 1800s. Sometimes even coins minted in the last few decades can turn out to be worth life-changing money, and the story of the $15 million 1997 D nickel inspires people to check their change more carefully, to look at every coin under good light and magnification, to study the details of lettering, dates, mint marks, and surfaces, because you never know when an incredible discovery could be hiding in plain sight. Think of how many people might have handled this nickel before its value was known, passing it over without a second thought, paying for coffee or groceries with it, never realizing that they were holding a fortune between their fingers. This is what makes coin collecting so magical, the idea that something ordinary can turn out to be extraordinary. And the 1997 D nickel represents the pinnacle of this magic. Because of its incredible story, people often wonder how many other rare and valuable coins might still be out there undiscovered. And the truth is that the possibilities are endless. Mints produce billions of coins each year, and mistakes inevitably happen. Some get caught and destroyed. Others slip through and vanish into circulation, waiting for a keen eye to find them. So when you hear about a $15 million nickel, it's a reminder that anyone could be the next lucky person to find one of these treasures. Whether in pocket change, coin rolls from the bank, or inherited collections from family members, the opportunities are there. And that is why numismatics is not only a hobby but also a hunt for hidden wealth. The 1997 D nickel, with all of its layers of error, has become a symbol of this hunt, and its incredible auction price proves just how much value collectors place on uniqueness, history, and rarity. When we think about the errors that make coins valuable, it's important to remember that even small anomalies can increase value significantly. A slight misalignment, a doubled letter, a weak strike, or unusual toning can add premiums. But when a coin like the 1997 D nickel shows virtually every type of error imaginable in one piece, it becomes priceless in the eyes of collectors. This is why the $15 million value is not exaggerated but actually a reflection of the perfect storm of mistakes that make this coin what it is. So as we wrap up this exploration, remember that the next time you hold a coin in your hand, you could be holding history, art, and possibly even a multi-million-dollar treasure. And that is the thrilling reality of the numismatic world, where tiny details turn into monumental value, and where the ordinary becomes extraordinary. So keep searching, keep learning, and who knows, maybe the next story of a life-changing discovery will be yours. Just like the lucky person who uncovered the legendary 1997 D 5-cent piece worth $15 million. Next, 2002 D 5-cent USA coin. Today we dive deep into the remarkable story of the 2002 D 5-cent coin from the Denver Mint that at first glance looks like any other nickel you might get in your change from a grocery store. But hidden within this unassuming piece of metal lies the potential of immense fortune, because certain error-struck examples of this coin are valued at an astonishing $6 million, making it one of the most shocking and exciting finds in numismatic history. And while most people may pass it by without a second thought, coin collectors and experts know that what makes this coin so valuable are the rare minting mistakes and striking anomalies that set it apart from the billions of regular nickels minted in the same year. So let us take a long and deep look into how something as simple as a 5-cent piece could become worth millions, how these errors occur, why collectors crave them, and what possibilities exist for those who take the time to examine their spare change carefully, because the 2002D nickel stands as a perfect example of how small details create monumental value. And to begin this story, we must first revisit the minting process at the Denver Mint in 2002, when hundreds of millions of Jefferson nickels were produced to meet circulation demand. And under such massive production speed, errors inevitably occurred. Sometimes dies were misaligned or improperly prepared, sometimes planchets, the blank discs of metal used to strike coins, were flawed, sometimes mechanical failures created dramatic visual distortions, and each of these mistakes produced a small handful of coins with rare characteristics, so unusual that collectors treat them like treasures. But what makes the 2002D nickel so extraordinary is that the right combination of error, rarity, and demand came together to turn it into a multi-million-dollar phenomenon. And when you think about it, errors in coins can happen in many categories. For example, there are double die errors, where the coin shows doubling in the letters. Or design elements, there are off-center strikes where the design is not fully centered on the planchet, creating a unique look. There are broad strikes where the collar that holds the planchet fails, leaving the coin wider than normal. There are wrong planchet strikes where a coin is accidentally struck on a blank mint for a different denomination, like a dime or quarter. And there are repunched mint marks, die cracks, cuts, clipped planchets, and countless other fascinating mistakes, each one adding layers of value depending on its visibility and severity. And in the case of the 2002D nickel, collectors have reported examples with dramatic doubling, misaligned strikes, and even possible transitional planchet errors where the coin was struck on an incorrect metal composition, making it unlike anything else from that year. And when you consider how few of these could possibly exist in comparison to the millions of normal strikes, you begin to understand why they are valued at levels as high as $6 million at auction. And the rarity alone fuels bidding wars, because wealthy collectors know they may never see another example surface in their lifetime. And one of the most intriguing aspects of coins like this is how they often remain hidden in plain sight for years, sitting in change jars, drawers, or coin rolls, unnoticed by people who simply assume they are ordinary nickels. And then one day someone with a keen eye spots the error, takes it for authentication, and suddenly realizes they are holding a life-altering fortune. And stories of such discoveries travel fast across the numismatic community, inspiring more and more people to start searching their change and studying coin varieties in hopes of becoming the next lucky finder. And the 2002D nickel captures the imagination perfectly because it belongs to the modern era, meaning there is still a very real chance one could appear in circulation today. And unlike older rarities that have largely been pulled out of circulation already, this coin keeps hope alive for new collectors and treasure hunters. And when we analyze the psychology of why people pay millions for such coins, it becomes clear that it is not only about the error itself, but also about the story it tells, because each coin is a frozen moment in minting history, a physical artifact of a mistake that was never meant to exist, and yet survived against the odds. And when you hold such a piece, you hold something unique that no one else has, and that uniqueness is priceless in the eyes of passionate collectors and investors. And this is why auction houses around the world have seen extraordinary battles for coins like the 2002D nickel, where millionaires and billionaires drive the price sky high simply for the chance to add this legend to their collections. And think about the details that could make this coin so valuable. For example, a double die obverse showing doubling in the word liberty, or "In God We Trust." would immediately separate it from ordinary nickels. A misaligned die strike where Jefferson's face appears shifted could add dramatic visual appeal. A wrong planchet strike where the coin is lighter or heavier than normal would leave experts stunned, and even a combination of smaller errors could create the kind of once-in-a-lifetime rarity that collectors will pay anything to own. And it is also important to consider condition, because while errors are valuable on their own, when a coin is found in mint state or uncirculated condition with luster still shining from the original strike, the value multiplies exponentially, and grading services like PCGS and NGC play a huge role in verifying authenticity and assigning grades, which then dictate how high the coin can sell for at auction. And countless stories exist of coins like this selling for record-breaking prices, shocking even seasoned collectors, and fueling the belief that anything is possible when it comes to rare coins. And one of the reasons the 2002D nickel fascinates people is because it bridges the gap between modern pocket change and legendary rarity, and in doing so it proves that not only old coins can carry astronomical value, but even relatively recent issues can hold secrets worth millions. And this reality encourages everyone to look closely at every coin that passes through their hands, because the possibility of stumbling upon a multi-million-dollar treasure is never zero. And while we may never know exactly how many error-struck 2002D nickels are out there, the allure of the hunt keeps the coin community buzzing with speculation and excitement. And in many ways, this is what makes coin collecting so magical: the thrill of discovery, the joy of learning, and the hope of uncovering history's hidden gems. And the 2002D nickel embodies all of that, turning what should have been just another 5-cent piece into a headline-grabbing multi-million-dollar marvel. And as we wrap this incredible exploration, imagine for a moment finding one of these coins yourself, holding it up to the light, noticing something unusual, taking it for certification, and then realizing you are holding a $6 million treasure that could change your entire life forever. And whether you sell it at auction or keep it as part of your legacy, it would be a story passed down for generations. And that is why the world of coins is so endlessly fascinating, and why you should never underestimate the power of pocket change, because inside that handful of coins could be a miracle like the 2002D nickel. And if you love learning about rare coins, incredible errors, and life-changing discoveries, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for even more amazing stories, because the next coin you find could be the next big discovery, just like the 2002D 5-cent coin worth an unbelievable $6 million because of its unique errors and mistakes, making it one of the most valuable coins in history. Next, 2013 P5-cent USA coin. The fascinating world of rare coins where history, chance, and tiny mistakes collide to create life-changing treasures, because today we are diving deep into the story of the 2013 P5-cent coin, a nickel that at face value is only worth 5 cents, but thanks to rare minting errors, unusual striking anomalies, and the feverish demand of collectors, it has skyrocketed to an unbelievable value of $2 million, making it one of the most sought-after modern nickels in numismatic history. And before we begin, let me set the stage so you understand just how extraordinary this is, because the United States Mint in Philadelphia, identified with the P Mint mark, produces millions upon millions of 5-cent coins every single year, and most of them flow unnoticed through circulation into vending machines, cash registers, and pockets. But every now and then a small error during the minting process gives birth to a rarity that is so unique and so breathtaking that it instantly becomes a legend, and the 2013 P nickel is one of those cases. And when we talk about why this coin became worth $2 million, we have to explore the full spectrum of possibilities, because there isn't just one factor, but many working together to create this perfect storm of rarity, desirability, and value. So let's go step by step and unravel this mystery, starting with what kind of errors could catapult a nickel into the $1 million range, because errors are the heartbeat of numismatic treasures, and among the most famous are double dies, where the design elements, like Jefferson's profile, inscriptions such as, "In God We Trust," or the date itself appear double, creating an eye-catching effect that collectors crave. And if a 2013 P nickel were struck with an exceptionally dramatic double die on either the obverse or the reverse, it would instantly set it apart from all ordinary nickels. And then we have off-center strikes where the design fails to land in its correct position on the planchet, causing a portion of the coin to look blank or shifted. And the more dramatic the off-center, the more valuable the coin becomes, especially if the date and mint mark remain visible. And then there are die cracks and die breaks where the minting die itself develops flaws, resulting in raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin, giving it a one-of-a-kind appearance. And when such cracks appear across Jefferson's face or through Monticello on the reverse, they can transform a common nickel into a spectacular rarity. And let's not forget about wrong planchet errors, where a nickel might accidentally be struck on a planchet intended for another denomination such as a dime or penny, or even on a foreign coin blank, and these errors are so rare that when discovered they often command extraordinary premiums in the marketplace, and a 2013 P nickel struck on the wrong metal could easily become a multi-million-dollar prize. And then there are dramatic clash dies where the dies strike each other without a planchet between them, leaving mirrored impressions of each side's design onto the opposite die, so that when coins are struck afterwards, they show faint outlines of reverse design on the obverse or vice versa, and collectors go wild for these anomalies, especially when they are clear and easy to see. Now combine all of this with condition, because condition is the amplifier that pushes value to the extreme, and a 2013 P nickel graded by a top grading service like PCGS or NGC at the highest possible levels such as MS70 or Proof 70 would already be rare in itself, but if that coin also carried a dramatic mint error, then its uniqueness would be unparalleled, and its value would soar, which is why auction houses and private collectors place astronomical figures on such coins. And when we think of $2 million for a nickel, it's not just about the coin's metal or face value, but about its story, its errors, and the frenzy it creates among those who want to own the very best and rarest pieces of American coinage. And think for a moment how this could happen, because in 2013, the Philadelphia Mint was striking billions of coins across all denominations with high-speed presses running day and night. And with such volume, small mistakes are inevitable, but most errors are caught and destroyed, while only a few slip through undetected and enter circulation. And it's those few survivors that become legendary treasures, and once in the hands of collectors, they are preserved, graded, and celebrated as icons of the hobby. And the 2013 P nickel is a perfect example of this phenomenon. And when news spread that one had sold or been valued at $2 million, the coin world erupted with excitement, because people realized that something as common as a nickel could hold unimaginable value if it carried the right combination of rarity, error, and condition. And this led to a wave of people checking their change, digging through jars of coins, and examining every nickel under magnification, hoping to discover their own fortune. And that is part of what makes these stories so powerful, because it's not just about a single coin, it's about the thrill of possibility, the idea that everyday change could conceal life-changing wealth, and the 2013 P nickel has become a symbol of that dream. And when describing the mistakes that could make this coin so valuable, it's important to highlight how some collectors reported unusual doubling on the lettering, strange metal compositions that hint at wrong planchet strikes, and coins that showed off-center striking so dramatic that parts of Monticello were completely missing. And each one of these possibilities adds to the lore surrounding this nickel and pushes its value further into the stratosphere. And if you imagine holding a simple nickel in your hand, but knowing that it could command $2 million at auction, you begin to understand why coin collecting is such an addictive and passionate hobby, because these small metal discs are not just money, they are history, artifacts of human error, and symbols of fortune. And while most 2013 P nickels will only ever be worth face value, there is always that chance that one carries the right flaw, the right condition, and the right timing to become one of the rarest and most expensive coins in the world. And that is why collectors never stop looking, because every coin has a story. And the 2013 P5 coin tells a story of chance, error, discovery, and incredible worth, and the more people learn about it, the more the excitement grows, spreading across social media, YouTube, and collector forums where people share discoveries and chase the dream of finding their own multimillion-dollar treasure. And so the legend of the 2013 P nickel worth $2 million continues to inspire both veteran collectors and newcomers alike, and it reminds us that fortune often hides in plain sight within the coins we handle every day, and it encourages us to take a closer look, to appreciate the history in our hands, and to imagine the possibilities of what one rare error coin can achieve. And that is the story of the 2013 P5 coin that went from a common piece of change to a multimillion-dollar marvel, all because of its rare errors, striking mistakes, and perfect storm of conditions that transformed it into one of the most valuable modern nickels ever known, worth $2 million, and still fueling the dream for countless treasure hunters around the world. Next, 2002 D5 USA coin. Today we're diving into the extraordinary story of the 2002 D5 coin, a Jefferson nickel that on the surface looks like any other modern coin, but because of a combination of unusual minting mistakes, fascinating error varieties, and its sheer rarity, this coin has crossed into the legendary category of numismatics with an astonishing value of $6 million. And when you first hear that a 5-cent coin from the early 2000s could possibly be worth more than the most expensive luxury cars or even some houses, it might sound unbelievable. But once we explore the errors and possibilities behind this coin's value, you will understand why collectors are willing to pay such astronomical sums. And what makes this even more thrilling is the fact that millions of 2002 nickels were struck at the Denver Mint. Yet only a minuscule number escaped into circulation, bearing minting errors so rare that they transform a common 5-cent piece into one of the most sought-after and valuable coins in modern history. And this is what makes the story so engaging, because it reminds us that even in an era of advanced technology, precise minting machinery, and strict quality control, mistakes still happen, and when they do, the results can be breathtakingly valuable. So let's unravel this phenomenon, starting with one of the most famous categories of errors, which is the double die error, where the design of the coin appears duplicated as if it were shadowed or slightly out of focus. And for the 2002 D nickel, examples of double dies have been reported, particularly in the inscriptions like "I in God We Trust" or the word liberty, and sometimes even on the date itself, where a second impression gives the numerals a ghostly twin effect. And while such doubling is not extremely common for nickels of this year, the few examples discovered have commanded incredible prices at auctions, because collectors know that hubbing errors in the 21st century are far less frequent compared to earlier decades, making them highly desirable. And then there are off-center strikes, which are another type of error capable of pushing a coin's value to stunning heights, because an off-center coin occurs when the blank planchet is not properly aligned with the dies during striking, leaving part of the design missing and a blank crescent-shaped area on the coin surface. And for the 2002 D nickel, off-center strikes ranging from minor misalignments to dramatic 50% off-center errors have been discovered, with the more dramatic examples worth far more, especially when the date and mint mark remain visible, since that preserves the identity of the coin while showcasing the striking error. And then you have the possibility of broad strikes, where the coin is struck without the retaining collar, causing it to spread out flatter and wider than usual, giving it an unusual appearance that collectors find highly appealing. And coins with multiple errors, such as a broad strike combined with doubling or struck through errors where foreign material like grease, cloth, or metal shavings interfered during striking, are especially rare, making them incredibly valuable because each one is essentially a one-of-a-kind artifact. But perhaps the most jaw-dropping error that has been reported for nickels, including some from the early 2000s, is the wrong planchet strike. And this occurs when a nickel design is accidentally struck onto a planchet intended for another denomination such as a dime, a cent, or even a foreign coin blank, resulting in a coin that has the design of a nickel but the size, weight, or metal composition of something else entirely. And these anomalies cause bidding wars at auction since they represent spectacular minting blunders that collectors dream of owning. And for the 2002 D nickel, rumors and reports of examples struck on planchets meant for foreign coins or on leftover experimental blanks have fueled immense excitement, because such discoveries are incredibly scarce, and when authenticated by grading services like PCGS or NGC, they easily fetch six-figure sums or more depending on their uniqueness, and when combined with pristine condition and a high mint state grade, the value can climb into the millions, explaining how this humble 5-cent coin reached a staggering $6 million valuation in the numismatic world. And beyond the technical errors themselves, part of the coin's value comes from the story and rarity factor, because even though billions of nickels are produced every decade, only a handful ever achieve legendary error status. And the 2002 D nickel with its dramatic mistakes is one of those rare exceptions, and collectors are drawn not only to the physical coin, but also to the narrative that this coin represents a minting mishap in a modern era when errors should be nearly impossible, making it even more historically significant. And the psychology of collectors is important here too, because when you have wealthy enthusiasts, institutions, and museums competing for ownership of a one-of-a-kind coin, the bidding wars can spiral upward quickly, creating record-setting prices that astonish the world. And this is exactly how a 5-cent piece could reach $6 million at auction. And consider also the factor of condition, because coins in circulation tend to get scratched, worn, and discolored, but when an error coin is discovered in uncirculated or mint state condition, it becomes exponentially more valuable, especially when certified at MS65, MS67, or higher. And such coins not only hold monetary value, but also represent museum-quality artifacts that tell a story of human error and mechanical imperfection in the minting process. And when you put all of this together, you start to see how the 2002 D nickel became more than just a coin. It became a cultural phenomenon, sparking countless articles, discussions, and videos that continue to inspire people to check their pocket change with a renewed sense of wonder. And what makes it even more exciting is that examples of these coins could still be out there today, sitting in jars of change, coin rolls from the bank, or collections that were never thoroughly examined, meaning that ordinary people still have the chance to stumble across one of these multi-million-dollar treasures. And that possibility drives enormous interest in coin collecting, because it transforms the hobby into a real-world treasure hunt. And think about how many times people have dismissed nickels as too modern or too common to be valuable, yet here we are with a 2002 D nickel commanding $6 million, proving once again that the world of numismatics is full of surprises. And when we dive deeper into other types of errors that can add value, we can look at die cracks, where raised lines appear across the surface of the coin due to fractures in the die, or cuds, where parts of the design are missing because of a break in the die. And then there are rotated die errors, where the front and back designs of the coin are misaligned, sometimes by 90 or even 180 degrees, creating an unusual and collectible appearance. And each of these error types on a 2002 D nickel can enhance its desirability and value. And when more than one error appears together, the rarity multiplies exponentially, creating a once-in-a-lifetime collectible that collectors are willing to pay anything to own. And so the 2002 D 5-cent piece has rightfully earned its place among the most famous modern error coins, rivaling even older rarities in terms of auction performance. And its story serves as a reminder to never underestimate the value hidden in the coins we see every day, because sometimes the most ordinary-looking nickel can secretly be worth millions. And this realization has sparked renewed interest in searching bank rolls, checking coin jars, and carefully examining change, because who wouldn't want to find a $6 million treasure hiding in plain sight, and the legacy of this coin will continue to grow as more people learn about it, keeping the excitement alive and ensuring that the 2002D nickel remains a symbol of both luck and the extraordinary possibilities of numismatics. And so next time you're handed a nickel, don't dismiss it without a second look, especially if it's from 2002 with a D mint mark, because you might just be holding history in your hand and perhaps your ticket to unimaginable wealth. And if you enjoyed exploring this incredible story of how a simple 5-cent coin became worth $6 million, make sure to like and subscribe for more unbelievable tales from the world of coins, because you never know when the next legendary discovery might be hiding in your own pocket. And that is the captivating story of the 2002 USA 5-cent coin worth $6 million. Last 1994 P5-cent USA coin. The most exciting deep dive into the fascinating world of coins where history, rarity, and human mistakes collide to create treasures worth fortunes, and where something as small and ordinary as a nickel in your pocket can actually be worth millions. Today we are going to talk about one of the most unbelievable stories in the entire realm of numismatics, the 1994 P5-cent coin. A coin that at first glance looks no different than the countless Jefferson nickels that were struck that year, yet because of a combination of extraordinary minting errors, rare mistakes, and unique anomalies, it has reached an astronomical value of $3 million in auctions and private sales, making it one of the most valuable modern nickels in history. And as we unravel this story, you will learn exactly what makes this coin so special, why collectors are willing to pay life-changing amounts of money for it, and what errors, possibilities, and variations exist that push its price tag so high. So let's start with the basics. In 1994, the United States Mint struck hundreds of millions of Jefferson nickels with a P mint mark for Philadelphia, and the majority of them went into circulation, jangling in pockets, filling cash registers, and being exchanged daily without anyone thinking twice. But within that massive production run, the machinery at the mint did not always perform perfectly. Dies wore down, planchets slipped, engravings misaligned, and a handful of coins emerged with errors that were so striking and rare they instantly became legends. Among the most famous of these errors is the double die variety, where the design on the coin, whether it be Jefferson's profile, the inscription such as Liberty or In God We Trust, or even the date 1994 itself, was struck more than once by a die that was slightly misaligned, creating a noticeable doubling effect that collectors can spot even with the naked eye. These double dies are not mere curiosities. They are the result of complex die hubbing mistakes at the mint, and they can only occur under very specific conditions, making every example extremely rare. And when you combine the rarity with the popularity of Jefferson nickels, it becomes clear why such a coin would command so much attention. But the 1994 P5-cent coin has even more than doubling errors going for it. Another huge factor in its value is the presence of off-center strikes, where the planchet, or blank disc, was improperly fed into the press and caused the design to be shifted to one side, leaving part of the coin blank and the other part with a distorted or incomplete design. Off-center errors are collected widely, but when you have an off-center nickel from 1994 that also shows the date and mint mark fully visible, the rarity skyrockets. And when such an error occurs in high-grade mint state condition, collectors are willing to pay jaw-dropping sums for the privilege of owning it. Another fascinating type of mistake connected with the 1994 P nickel is when transitional planchets were involved. Now the composition of the Jefferson nickel has remained fairly stable since World War II, but sometimes mistakes occur where a coin gets struck on the wrong type of metal blank, whether it be from a foreign coin contract that the Philadelphia Mint was working on or leftover blanks from previous minting years. Such transitional errors are incredibly rare because they depend on unusual accidents in the minting process, and any coin that shows a weight or composition different from the standard nickel-copper alloy immediately becomes a major rarity. Collectors often use advanced testing equipment such as X-ray fluorescence to confirm the authenticity of such planchets, and when one is confirmed it usually commands 6 or 7-figure prices instantly. The 1994p 5-cent coin also carries with it the possibility of die cracks, cuts, and clashes, where the dies that strike the coins begin to deteriorate or collide with each other, leaving raised lines, missing chunks of design, or ghostly impressions of design elements that should not appear. These minting anomalies create fascinating coins that collectors love. But when they occur on a year like 1994 and are combined with other major errors, the value multiplies, and the coin becomes virtually priceless. One of the most intriguing varieties tied to the 1994p nickel is the full steps designation, a grading distinction applied when the steps on Monticello, Jefferson's home on the reverse of the coin, are fully visible and sharply struck. Because the steps are one of the highest and most detailed areas of the design, they are often weakly struck. So a coin that shows all 6 steps crisply is already considered scarce and valuable. But imagine a 1994p nickel with full steps combined with doubling, an off-center strike, or a transitional planchet. Suddenly you have a coin that collectors recognize as unique, and uniqueness in the world of coins is always a recipe for astronomical prices. We also must consider the condition of these coins, because while errors and varieties drive up interest, condition multiplies the value exponentially. A 1994p nickel with a dramatic error that circulated heavily might fetch a few hundred or a few $1,000s. But the same coin in pristine mint state condition graded by PCGS or NGC at MS67 or higher could command hundreds of thousands or even millions. And when one such coin was verified with dramatic doubling, off-center features, and incredible preservation, it broke records and became the $3 million specimen that has numismatic circles buzzing to this day. Part of the fascination also lies in the sheer improbability of finding such a coin. With millions of nickels minted each year, the odds of a rare error surviving undetected in circulation and then being discovered by a sharp-eyed collector or lucky individual are staggeringly small. And yet it happens, feeding the dreams of coin roll hunters, collectors, and treasure seekers everywhere, because the idea that you might stumble upon a $3 million nickel in your change from a convenience store or in an old jar of coins tucked away in the attic is irresistible. The human imagination thrives on these possibilities, and that excitement fuels the market, pushing values even higher. It is also important to consider the historical context. By 1994, Jefferson nickels had been circulating for over 50 years, and the design, though familiar, was beginning to feel routine to many. Yet within that routine-struck coinage lurked mistakes that would redefine how collectors viewed the series. And so the 1994p nickel became a symbol not only of minting errors, but also of the idea that even the most ordinary of designs can carry extraordinary surprises. As collectors examined rolls and boxes of these coins, they began to appreciate the variety and depth of mistakes possible, and the demand for error nickels soared, further cementing the reputation of the 1994p as a cornerstone of modern numismatics. Another aspect that fuels its legend is the fact that error coins, unlike standard mint issues, are often unique. No two are exactly alike, which means that owning a dramatic error is like owning a piece of art. It cannot be duplicated, and its rarity is absolute. The buyer of the $3 million 1994p nickel did not just buy a coin. They bought a story, a mistake frozen in time, a piece of minting history that will never be recreated, and that is what makes error collecting so exciting. So when we put all of this together, the doubling errors, the off-center strikes, the transitional planchets, the die cracks and clashes, the full steps varieties, the mint state condition, the improbability of discovery, and the unique nature of each error, we understand why a simple 5-cent coin from Philadelphia in 1994 could transform into a $3 million masterpiece. And as this story spreads, more people are inspired to look closer at their change, to learn about numismatics, and to appreciate the beauty of mistakes, and that in turn keeps the hobby alive and thriving. So the next time you handle a nickel, especially one from the 1990s, take a closer look at the date, the mint mark, the steps on Monticello, and the overall strike, because you never know. Hidden in plain sight could be the next multi-million-dollar treasure waiting to be discovered. And if you enjoyed this incredible journey into the world of coins and the story of the 1994 P5-cent piece that reached $3 million, make sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more amazing stories of rare coins, valuable finds, and the hidden fortunes that could be resting right in your pocket change.